Everyone watching this video either A, owns a dog, or B, knows someone that owns a dog. Dogs have been man's best friends for over thousands of years. Even though dogs are everywhere, most people don't put much thought into where they come from. Dogs come from a multitude of places, including shelters, pet stores, or breeders. Most of the time people are thinking of getting a dog, they research what breed they want. Once they find their perfect breed, they'll look for a good breeder or pet store. Most people don't know what buying a dog from a breeder or a pet store is doing to the majority of pups out in the world.
There are over 1 million dogs sitting in shelters waiting to be adopted. While all these dogs are waiting for forever homes and shelters, many people decide to buy dogs either from a breeder or a pet store. Over 1 million dogs get euthanized each year because not enough people adopt. This number could drop dramatically if people decided to adopt and not shop. Some people decide not to adopt because they have misconceptions about shelter dogs, such as they're dirty, mean, and unhealthy, so they decide to buy a dog instead. A majority of dogs that come from breeders have health defects because of overbreeding in the gene pool.
Mixed-bred dogs, often the dogs found in shelters, usually tend to live healthier lives than purebreds. This is because of the variations in the bloodlines. A mixed-bred puppy often has the advantage of having a much lower chance of being born with inherited congenital diseases, since the mating process naturally leaves out the defective genes. If you want a happy, healthy, loving dog, you can find one in a shelter, for a lot cheaper than you can from a breeder.
The video you're seeing now is the joyful reaction of a dog after realizing he's being adopted.
Dogs were not meant to be purebreds. Most purebred dogs go back to the 1800s. People have bred these purebred dogs over and over again, oftentimes keeping it in the family. Since purebred dogs have little variation in their bloodline, they often end up with health problems, including a higher risk of cancer and tumors, eye and heart diseases, joint and bone disorders, skin diseases, immune system and neurological diseases, and even epilepsy.
So why not get a dog from a pet store? Pet stores that sell puppies is one of the biggest scams in America, and it's going on right under everyone's noses. However, it's completely legal. Puppies at pet stores may seem cute and cuddly, but the places where they come from are far from it. A dog from a pet store is most likely from a puppy mill. A puppy mill is a large commercial dog breeding operation where profit is all they care about. They breed dogs only for the sole reason of a profit. They do not care at all for the genetic quality of the dog. The Humane Society cracked down on pet store workers by setting up hidden cameras and asking the workers about the puppies. One man's response was shockingly honest.
You want to make money in this business, yeah, you really have to sell your soul and care about animals around.
Puppy mills are located all over the world. They're extremely popular in Korea and China. In the United States, states like Ohio, Tennessee, Missouri, Iowa, Kansas, and Pennsylvania are known for having booming puppy mills. In fact, Lancaster County is said to be the puppy mill capital of the world. With an estimated 10,000 in the United States alone, the business can make close to $1 billion a year. The number of breeding dogs held in a puppy mill can range from 10 to 1,000. They constantly breed the female dog until she is physically incapable of breeding anymore. Once she hits this limit, they will most likely kill her because she is not useful to them anymore. Puppy mill puppies are often taken away from their mother and litter mates at as little as 6 weeks old. This can cause the puppy to have emotional problems such as fear and anxiety. Also, the puppy is not socially developed by the time they are taken away from their family.
Dogs scared of anything, including grass, because they've never seen it before. We see horrible physical conditions, problems with the paw pads from being on those wire floors for their whole lives, eye problems, ear problems, it just goes on and on.
The dogs held in puppy mills are usually stored in tiny wire crates stacked on top of each other. The wire flowing on the crates bring injury to their paws and legs. They usually have little to none veterinary care, food, water, and socialization. The dogs do not get to experience toys, treats, basic grooming, and more importantly, the love of a forever home, or even civil human contact. Some of the puppies die before ever reaching a pet store or a loving owner. If you plan on buying your dog from a pet store or online, also plan for your dog to have at least one of these problems: epilepsy, heart disease, kidney disease, skeletal disorders, diabetes, blood disorders, deafness, eye problems, respiratory disorders, distemperament, kennel cough, pneumonia, mange, which is a skin disorder that hardens the fur and forms scabs, fleas, ticks, intestinal parasites, and chronic diarrhea. Purchasing a puppy at a pet store means not only supporting the cruel puppy mill industry, but also taking a home away from one of the millions of unwanted shelter dogs that will eventually end up being killed. Breeders and puppy mills are creating more dogs when there are already dogs on this earth that need homes. Here are some clips of an interview with a former puppy mill employee.
Very unbearable, and to feed the dogs outside, you would have to wear, or I did, have to wear a mask because of the odor. 2 baby Yorkies died. My boss threw them in the trash on 4/28/08. My boss shot a Westie and he buried it. He beat a Yorkie to death on a tree. The tree no longer exists. He cut it down to get rid of the evidence. And he killed 9 more puppies that had ringworm on 6/1/08. One wasn't no good to him anymore, or sickly. He could either shoot it or knock it in the head.
Knock it in the head with what?
A hammer, or when he told me to take them and get rid of them, I did. He meant kill them, but I got rid of them. I took them and had them rescued.
After watching this, many of you might be thinking, why is this legal? In many states, owning more than 10 dogs on a property is banned without a license. If you have a license, however, it's completely legal. The Animal Welfare Act outlines specific standards of care for dogs, cats, and other animals bred for commercial resale. Many puppy mills are ran illegally because they do not pass inspection or even take the time to get licensed. Animal cruelty is defined differently depending on the state. In Pennsylvania, animal cruelty is illegal under the definition of abuses any animal or neglects any animal as to which he has a duty of care, whether belonging to himself or otherwise, or abandons any animal or deprives any animal of necessary sustenance, drink, shelter or veterinary care, or access to clean and sanitary shelter, which will protect the animal against inclement weather and preserve the animal's body heat and keep it dry. This is an offense with a fine of $50 to $750 and an imprisonment up to 90 days. If a person is accused of killing a dog or dismembering, the person will be charged with at least 7 years in prison and a $500 fine.
It's important to know that in many cases, puppy mills are not illegal. In most states, a breeding kennel can legally keep dozens, even hundreds of dogs in cages for their entire lives, as long as the dogs are given the basics of food, water, and shelter under a license. This is how puppy mill owners get around fines and jail time. If you own a dog from a pet store, don't worry. We're not saying your dog is bad. Most likely you and your family were not aware of exactly where your dog came from. The unintentional support of puppy mills and overpopulation that creates a problem. We researched reviews on Zimmers, and here is what multiple people had to say about their experience with Zimmers and the dogs they purchased from there.
What you are seeing now are the countless reviews left online by consumers warning others of the horrors behind Zimmer's Pets in Boyertown, Pennsylvania. These people are stating horrible experiences they've had with the store, along with the traumatizing illnesses their new puppies had to go through even after being purchased. Zimmer's is only one of the thousands of pet stores that do the same exact things. Pet stores have business plans, contracts, and arrangements with puppy mills, which allows pet store owners to get puppies in bulk for a low cost. Depending on the breed, pet store owners will pay anywhere from $100 to $500 for an entire litter of puppies, anywhere from 2 to 8 puppies per litter. The pet stores will then resell the puppies, charging close to $1,000 for each puppy. If you do the math, pet stores are ridiculously ripping people off. Also, take note of the conditions these puppies they're selling may possibly be in. There has been many people complaining of paying over $1,000 for a puppy that turned out to be terminally ill.
Yeah, good. Will you be getting more of the golden retrievers in?
Yes, coming Saturday.
This coming Saturday?
Yes.
Okay. And where they come from? Are they from a...
We have our own breeder.
And are they a puppy farm?
Obviously no. And puppy farm usually they don't have purebred, and we don't buy them cheap. They're really expensive. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Do you breed them? Oh my gosh. No, we don't breed them here. We actually get ours from local breeders, small breeders in the area. This is the breeder. We've gotten a lot from them, and they're really good. We only have like 4 or 5 different dogs that they breed.
Okay, this is a sick dog right here.
This puppy had actually been visited by a veterinarian the day before and cleared for sale.
Cleared for sale. Wait, upper respiratory infection.
He could barely breathe, he could barely stand up, and it almost brought me to tears.
He's been like wheezing and coughing.
He's clearly sick.
Rachel and I went out to see for ourselves what these pet stores have to offer. While going to Zimmer's Pets and Tom's Pet Outlet, we saw the conditions these puppies were in, and even worse, what they were charging for these puppies.
We reached out to a former student at PJP who worked at Tom's Pet Outlet. She told us all about her experiences while working at Tom's, and what she had to say was shocking. Here are screenshots of information she gave us. In these messages, Talia tells us about where these puppies came from. She says that she noticed all the puppies came on a big truck all at once in the middle of the night on the same day every week. They would hide the sick puppies in the back room, making sure they're hidden from the public eye. She told us that every time she would ask the owners where the puppies came from, they would tell her private breeders. This is a big red flag that hints these dogs came from puppy mills. Talia told us that once she found out what was going on behind the scenes, she immediately left the business. Buying a dog from online or a pet store is supporting a puppy mill. Stop the buying of dogs and stop supporting the inhumane puppy mills.
I personally wouldn't purchase a dog from a pet store because it's just promoting the puppy farmers. You know, people get a little, their feelings hurt when you tell them, you know, well, that you're promoting a puppy mill. Well, you know, they love the dog, so it's kind of hard to say. I would definitely suggest people try and adopt first, because those dogs, they don't get a home, they don't go on to live, whereas, you know, that puppy will eventually get purchased.
The most important reason Adopt Don't Shop should be enforced is because when you purchase a dog from breeders and pet stores, you are taking away a home from one of those dogs in a shelter. Think about the reasons you consider taking a dog into your home and having them as a part of your life and family. You want the dog to serve as a companion and a lifelong friend. If this is not the reason, you should reconsider sharing your home with a dog. You have to remember, you are your dog's world. You have a lot going on in your life, people running in and out, decisions to make, and jobs to do. But your dog only has one priority, you. A dog's owner is all he or she has. A dog in a shelter for years has nobody to love and thrive off of, which makes them more appreciative when they finally get someone to fill that void. It's important to remember that dogs experience feelings just like us. They feel sadness, fear, guilt, frustration, and anger, but they also feel joy, happiness, and love. However, dogs do not experience complex thoughts like us humans do. They don't think about their day and analyze situations. Their brain, obviously, does not have that capability. although they do analyze current situations, especially linked with fear. A lot of animals can sense when something bad is about to happen, which makes the experience in a high-kill shelter a lot worse.
If we haven't already convinced you to adopt your future pet, maybe this will help. If you must insist on getting a puppy, there are a decent amount of puppies from newborn to 8 weeks that are currently in shelters. From personal experience, I recently rescued my puppy from a high-kill shelter in Tennessee. She was 6 weeks old when I got her, and just as cute as any dogs you'll see from a breeder or in a pet store.
Bailey. Bailey. Hey.
If you are stuck on a specific breed, there are purebred dogs in shelters. They have rescues dedicated to specific breeds such as Golden Retriever rescues, German Shepherd rescues, Labradoodle rescues, Pomeranian rescues, and any breed you could ever think of. Many people are very ignorant and uneducated about the misconceptions of breeder dogs versus shelter dogs. A friend of mine told me that she doesn't want a dirty, mean shelter dog. She later went on to say that dogs from breeders are healthier, which is completely false. The name purebred is the biggest misconception with dogs who have been in the same gene pool for thousands of years. Purebred dogs are anything but pure. However, there are some good breeders out there trying to correct the purebred's genetics. But again, this is just adding on to the population. People think dogs from shelters are bad because some of them have been abused. When dogs have been abused, they lose trust with humans. If you show that dog the love and affection it never had, you can easily build back that trust. While dogs are in the shelter or in a foster home, almost 100% of the time, volunteers will work with the dogs to get them in perfect condition. They train them, neuter them, vaccinate them, and socialize them. When you buy puppies from breeders, they will most likely only be vaccinated with their first shots, which means you still have to neuter, get the second round of vaccinations, house train, crate train, train basic obedience, and most importantly, socialize them, which is hard to do when you do not have access to people and dogs like shelters do.
A question a lot of people have about kill shelters is, why do they exist? Kill shelters exist because there are 70 to 80 million dogs in the United States either in shelters or running around as strays. Since there are an overwhelming amount of dogs without homes, space is limited. Since there is no room for these dogs in shelters, the dogs that are there for years and don't get adopted get euthanized. Dogs are euthanized in many different ways. Some ways of death are more humane than others. Lethal injection is considered the most humane and the most popular in the northern states. However, gas boxes are most used in the South because of the overwhelming amount of strays and unwanted dogs. At puppy mills, the workers are ruthless, usually killing the unwanted dogs by hand. They euthanize these dogs because they believe there is a more humane way to have them die rather than leaving them on a street to starve or die from weather conditions. This is why breeding needs to be stopped. There are already dogs living on this earth that need homes, and they are just as good as a companion than a dog you can get from a breeder or a pet store. If we already have dogs that are awaiting homes, why are we letting breeders create more puppies? Down south, there is a higher rate of stray dogs because people do not get their dogs neutered. Where do all these strays go? If they're not adopted, they're taken to animal control and put into kill boxes. Kill boxes are big metal containers that fill up with toxic gas and kill the dogs. Some people are not aware of what happens to homeless dogs, but others choose to ignore it and say it's not their fault. If you purchase a dog from a breeder or a pet store, you're taking a home away from one of those dogs headed to the kill box. You're unconsciously taking a dog's life. You can help these dogs by spreading awareness of spay and neuter and adopting your next dog as a rescue. Purchasing dogs from pet stores and breeders is supporting the overpopulation of dogs, puppy mills, and the euthanization of dogs. Remember that cute puppy will only be a puppy for a month or two. Is that really worth it? There are a lot of people who try to adopt but give up due to the strictness of some volunteers and rescues. It takes time to adopt, which is a big reason a lot of people turn to breeders and pet stores because people are impulsive. Chances are, the first time you try to adopt from a rescue, your application most likely will not be accepted. It's frustrating, which is why you must keep at it. Some rescues are easier to adopt from than others. SPCAs are different than rescues. Most SPCAs are run by the state or your county. If you walk into an SPCA, it's more first come, first serve. You can go there and find a dog you love and walk out with him or her that day. Rescues are different. If you find a dog you want that is connected to a rescue, you have to submit an application before you even are considered to adopt. A common application to a rescue will ask you the following questions and probably many more, such as personal information like your name, address, phone number, email, people living in the household, if you're a homeowner or rent your home, your landlord information, and your type of home. They also want to know if you own or have owned any other animals, your past and current veterinary information, such as the name of the vet, the phone number, and the practice address. If you have a fenced-in yard and what kind. Some rescues will even go as far as scheduling a visit with you and the dog at your home before completing the adoption. It is easier adopting from someone who is fostering the dog you want instead of contacting the rescue itself. It's more personal contacting the foster volunteer, therefore it's easier getting the dog. If you're looking to adopt, it is smart to send applications to as many rescues as possible. First, instead of looking for a specific dog you want from a rescue. Only look once your application is verified. Once your application is verified, it's verified for life. You will be able to adopt any dog you want without waiting if you get your applications out first. This is a mistake a lot of people make that is a huge letdown. Send as many applications as possible. Some rescues will deny you and some will accept you. It's all by chance. If you're looking for a specific breed, there are rescues dedicated to just that. There are even rescues dedicated to small dogs if you don't have a space to handle a 60-pound pup. Another easy and fast way to rescue is through online rehoming listings. Believe it or not, Craigslist is a great way to rescue dogs, but you have to be careful. There are a lot of scams and backyard breeders. If you rescue from Craigslist, don't buy from a litter. Make sure it is a single dog or puppy who is being rehomed. Talk to the people rehoming the dog and ask to meet before any kind of exchange is made. With the right precautions, online listings are great ways to rescue dogs and get around the application process. Rescuing takes time, but it's worth it. You're saving a life and gaining a new best friend.